The Enderman Slayer came with a lot of new weapons, including the Vorpal Katana and the Atom Split. And these weapons give a lot of ferocity while you're fighting the boss, and it could deal damage to the Enderman. But the question is it really worth to get this weapon? In this video I'll explain if you should actually buy the weapon or not, because it does cost a pretty hefty amount. But before we get into the video, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Remember the EGOM diss track around 10k, it might take a little longer to come out. But let's get into the video. So let's take a look at this weapon. The ability is Soul Cry. Gain 300 ferocity against Enderman for 4 seconds. It costs 200 mana, has a cooldown of 4 seconds, and it only costs 1 Soulflow. Soulflow is something you could buy from the bazaar, and it costs around 1,000,000 coins to get 64. So we'll obtain the Soulflow, and we could use our ability 64 times now because we have 64 Soulflow. Now the other ability is deal 200% to Enderman. So since it does 200% to Enderman, if I smack this right here, it does 400k. But if I use my Fabled Emerald Blade, I do 800k. So since it only does 300k, why does it cost 30 million coins? Well, the answer to that is you could sword swap with it. Well, it's not in the way you think. If you use the ability, then switch over to your weapon that does a lot of damage, it just shreds the health on that. So here's a mini boss. If I use my ability and switch over to my Emerald Blade, the ferocity just destroys the health with this. But the problem with this is that the boss, whenever it has a shield not activated, it does negative 75% ferocity. Meaning from this weapon, we would only get 75 ferocity against the boss whenever it does not have the shield active. But the good thing about this sword is that it shreds down the hits phase whenever it does have the barrier activated, because it still gives you 300 ferocity during that phase. So let me give you an example of me fighting a boss with this. So if I use the ability on the boss and switch over, as you can see my ferocity isn't proccing as much, but it still does proc. So that is pretty good. And on the hit phase, I shred the thing down. Like, the thing just goes down so fast. So let's go over the pros and cons of this weapon so far. So let's go over the pros of this weapon first. So the pros of this weapon is that you're able to sword swap with it and still keep the ferocity. Another pro is during the hit phase, it shreds the hits down much faster than what a bow would do or anything else would really do. Plus it gives you a lot of healing because the life's still on it, it just keeps on proccing with the ferocity. Well, now let's get into the cons. This weapon costs 30 million coins. That's pretty expensive if you think about it. Another thing is the damage is pretty dookie, as I do more damage with my Emerald Blade. Another con about this weapon is that you do run out of mana pretty fast with it because it does use 200 mana. So after hearing the pros and cons, is this weapon actually worth it? Well, yes it is. With the cost of 30 mil, you're able to spawn in bosses much faster by killing mini bosses 3 times as fast. Your lifesteal is much greater on this weapon than using any other type of weapon because of the ferocity procs you get off of it. You can sword swap with this weapon with the ferocity, so you're allowed to do more damage with your higher weapon. And another thing is, I did not have any attack speed. Attack speed would help ferocity proc so much faster and would barely take my damage down. So just think about it, if I did have attack speed set up, I would have a lot more DPS and a lot more ferocity procs. So that's going to be the end of reviewing this weapon. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, and goodbye guys.